Arsenal are back and have a massive game at the Emirates against Newcastle. With both teams definitely having fiery games against each other recently, this time Arsenal need to really cement themselves in the title race picture. Let's go through the game and let's go through some of the things that might happen. Now, this could possibly be one of the most important games for Arsenal in recent times. Now, realistically, most league games are very important to a different level because Arsenal need to keep up and need to keep winning. But someone like Newcastle have really had Arsenal's number recently. It's very important that they actually do something in this game. Of course, last year they came to the Emirates and Arsenal drew 0-0, and even though that wasn't the start of the momentum slip, but that was definitely a little tweak to the armour. And despite obviously winning at St James's Park towards the end of last season when Arsenal weren't really playing for too much, looking into this season they obviously lost there. Controversially, I know loads of people are going to say, was the ball out or was it a foul on Gabriel? But Arsenal on that day didn't turn up and played a double pivot with Jorginho for second measures. Now, this game also impacts how Mikel Arteta might use the team going forward. He used his midfield system with Trossard coming back deeper in the last few games, and it's worked superbly in the Premier League, obviously thrashing West Ham and Burnley. But in the Champions League, he got largely found out, and Porto did a brilliant job to nullify their attacking prowess and basically force Arsenal to play down the wing in a more direct fashion, which they didn't really want to. Now, Newcastle are a team that play three midfielders. They might want to do the same thing, being very tactically disciplined and getting to the players, but this is very hard, and Porto were really up for it on the day, and it's going to take a lot for them to be up for it again, let alone Newcastle as well. Also considering in Newcastle's injury list, which has been bad for a few months now, is slowly getting better, but they're not going to have a full team all the time. And with their three midfielders potentially being Longstaff, Guimaraes and Miley, it might be a lot of effort for them to do that, and they're going to need a lot of help from their usually attacking wingers to actually come back and help them. Now, despite that Champions League blip where Arsenal simply didn't have any shots on target, they have been scoring at free will in the Premier League. It's quite evident they've scored 21 goals in the last 5 games. Comparatively, Newcastle are conceding a lot of goals, and actually in their last 3 games have conceded 8 goals themselves. So there's definitely defensive issues as well, definitely with the injuries I think this happened, and I don't think they really have the legs to be playing at the level at the moment just for how many injuries and how many players are not in the team. Dan Burn is also a massive liability in left back. He is a physical player and it has caused us problems in the past, but this season his mobility has completely been shot to pieces and he's not very good at running when Newcastle play a high line, and they specifically struggle at home with this recently. Now, Newcastle are obviously going to be very tactically good against us. You know they're going to really try for this game. They're going to have a lot of reliance on people like Bruno Guimaraes to actually not go forward, because in the games against Nottingham Forest he often left his defence to be a bide. I think Arsenal will continue with the Trossard system because I don't think Jesus is back from injury and I don't really know what else we could do. We could definitely try the Havertz and Jorginho sort of pressure, but I think Newcastle will be trying to not have as much as the ball as possible. So having them on the pitch to maybe have a bit more control isn't really needed in these sort of games. These are the games where we probably need Havertz in midfield and need to be a bit aggressive with it. But we do obviously need to be careful. They have a lot of quality and they came 4th in the Premier League last season. They've also done Arsenal many times, so having Declan Rice on a single pivot, he is going to need help by some of the players. I also wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle play a bit of a deeper line than we've been seeing in recent weeks. Now, recently they've actually played quite a high line and they've been getting caught, especially against quick players down that left side with Dan Burns' pace and Fabian Schär's. Now, while they are a good team defensively, this season they've fell apart, and I think they might really struggle against Arsenal's attacking presence. I think when Trossard comes into midfield and Havertz moves up for that physical nature, going to struggle a lot. But Newcastle are a very physical team. They could be a bit like a Fulham for Arsenal, where they need to be aware and be good on the day to make sure they get a result. Because West Ham came to Emirates and got a result by just getting a couple of lucky goals and being good from set pieces and largely staying in a low block and not letting Arsenal through. Now, I do think this midfield composition makes sure that this is probably impossible for Arsenal to not have any chances, but they need to make sure they count. Now, I also expect Newcastle to play quite a low block, but I expect them also to probably have 2 men on Saka the whole time, because I think that they're going to probably understand that Dan Burn cannot be marking Saka by himself. His mobility and his turning will not be good enough, and he probably will easily get past him. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of their other centre-backs come across. They're a threat from free kicks and they're a threat from set pieces. We need to be careful in Newcastle because they're good from long range efforts as well. They've got many good shooters in the team, and this isn't the best time to play Newcastle. They've had a lot of their team injured for a time, but they've still got a lot of them injured, you have to say, so it's still a very good time and we are on good form. Another big question for the Arsenal team is what is going to happen with Thomas Partey. Now, he trained in full training after the Porto game, but we've all seen this before. He came back to full training a few weeks ago, and then straight away I did a video about it. A week later he's not in the squad, not fit again, injured again. So I don't expect, even if he is fully fit, to probably start another game for Arsenal just for the reliability factor for him, and we're just so used to playing without him this season. But I do think he is still a good player and he still could offer us something in that team. I'd probably still rather come on than Jorginho, even though Jorginho has been very good. But Partey could be on the bench here, and then I don't think he necessarily will have much an impact in this game, because it's even going to be like we concede early and we have to get a goal back, or we dominate early out. So I don't really see a game where Thomas Partey comes on here. I feel like we'll always be looking to try and score. And there's also been rumours about Gabriel Jesus potentially being in the squad again. Now, I probably think it's a bit too early for him, but he could potentially come on and give us a shot. I'd rather him come on 75% than Eddie on 100, unfortunately. So I just don't think Eddie's been very good recently and hasn't impressed me. I expect Nelson and Smith Rowe to also get game time off the bench. They deserve it, and I think they've been really good recently. Now, they don't deserve to start, but they've been good enough to warrant a squad place, or Fabio Vieira coming back from injury. We've got a few options in there this time around, and we should have enough attacking depth to at least score a few goals against a team that have actually been struggling to defend recently. A lot more in this game than they did in them games, so we've got to be prepared for that. Something that might come into play is the fact that Newcastle also, when they try and break and win the ball back, they often actually go down the wings. This is obviously where the better players are, and if Isak and Wilson are still injured, they're still going to have to do this, because they're going to have to play a winger up front, probably Gordon, who will most likely often drift out to the left anyway. Now, Isak might be back, so this could be an issue for us, because I still think he's a brilliant player, but he won't be on 100% because he's just been injured and he's only just coming back to full fitness. Now, Wilson's out for a while, so he won't be there, so their striker options are looking very, very slow, which obviously could help us because Newcastle will always have that ability to score on the break. I think Gordon is their main threat. We need to really be careful for it, but honestly, we should have this with the injuries they have. And this game, more than importantly than our little rivalry, a little grudge match that we have against Newcastle, is very important for the rest of the season. We need to win to continue to be in this title race, and after we've got a few games where I expect to win, this is one of the big boys we've got to play for the next time being. Now, obviously, every single Premier League game and pretty much every game we're going to play is like a cup final for us right now, and that's just going to be the way. Even against smaller teams, we're going to have to perform, and they matter a lot. But this is what happens when you're in a title race fighting for the top of the trophies. This is going to happen. You're going to have to win every single game you need to, and at the moment, we're going to have to keep adapting every single game where teams purposely try and make sure that they stop us, more importantly than anything. I think against Porto, we were usually quite poor, and I'm worried that maybe the fatigue is going to set in and we're still going to be poor in this game, because Newcastle have had a week off in comparison to us, so they have time to calm down and figure out what they're going to do, while we've had 3 or 4 days to get into this game, get into the right mindset after going all the way to Portugal and obviously disappointingly losing in the Champions League. Let me know, guys, what do you think the game result's going to be? What's your prediction, and who do you think is going to be a real key player for us or potentially for Newcastle? Do you think we can get the W in the end? Now, of course, like always, tomorrow I'm going to be doing a reaction to it and maybe some analytical videos, so we'll get into that when it really happens. But thank you guys for watching the video. I really appreciate your view as always. If you like this video, please put a like and subscribe down below, and if you want to watch any of my other content, watch my video yesterday where I talk about how Arsenal could potentially counter what Porto did to them. See you in the next one.